Okay, I think it's time for a startup video. I'm going to give it a nice startup, let it run, let it warm up, and get everything all lubed up. So I'm going to take you guys along with the startup. There she be. So I was checking in as far as the airflow for my new Shroud, and the airflow is amazing with the Shroud in place. So I got this piece of paper to show how much suction this fan is now creating. I mean, you can see the paper is just wanting to stick onto the radiator. It's just pretty amazing how much suction the Shroud is now having. And pull it off and it just wants to, you know, stick on there. Big difference the Shroud makes. So it's working like a charm. There's one other detail that I forgot to mention, and that was these buttons and the purpose for them. Now on the inner fenders there's these holes, and I didn't like the holes. And when I had bought the buttons for the splash shields, I had a couple left over. So I decided that I wanted to see if they would cover the holes. And as you can see, it covered the holes nicely. So I figured, why not paint the buttons and put them on the holes to cover them up. Now the other the other inner fender doesn't have that many holes. It's just those two, and that hole is primarily for the bracket that holds the heater hoses that come around and go into these two areas. And as you can see, I have them currently looped, so I'm not really worried about that side. But this side, it's not going to be used for anything. Possibly one bracket will be used, or maybe over here I'll probably put a bracket for the hoses that come off the carburetor and goes to the fuel vapor canister. That's about it. But the rest of the hose will just be there. And what will happen is, as I'm driving in the rain or in water, water is going to go through those holes and into my engine bay. And that is not acceptable. So that's why I got the buttons. And then on the other side, as you can see from this side, I will put on a nut similar to the splash shields, and then I will cut off the excess, make it nice and flush, and then with my coating, when I recoat the wheel wells, everything will be black. So that's the plan, and that is the purpose for those buttons. So now I'm going to show you the results of the buttons that I installed. So you see there's two there, there's two here, but you only see the one on top, and I used one of these bolts for this bracket that I had, and then there's two right there, if you can see that. So those buttons cover up the holes, so that way I don't have water seeping through those holes and ruining my inner fender. Now this bracket is holding the two hoses that comes off of the vapor canister, and I routed it, as you can see, and it goes straight to the carburetor. Now the vapor canister also has one additional hose that goes to the fuel tank vapor line, and that I'm going to route behind the fender up over the inner fender, and it's going to go and plug into that red circular dot that you see down there. And you can see the hose is ready to be installed, and that's pretty much the vapor line for the fuel tank. And then on the other side, I only had to use one button, and for the other hole, what I did was I took this bracket. It's an original bracket from this car, but I just remodified it, rebent it so that it can hold these two heater hoses, and it worked out great. And so I ran out of wire loom, but you can see the wire loom there, and I'm pretty much, it's gonna have the wire loom coming off and on top of the hoses, and it's going to be routed to here. This is the smaller hose for the heater hose, and then the larger one will be routed to the water pump. So it's going to be somewhat of a symmetrical look, even though it's not really symmetrical. Basically we have a wire loom hose coming to the engine, and then we have a wire loom hose setup coming from the engine to this side. So it's basically just somewhat of a mess. I just wanted it to look really, really clean, so the wire loom on top of the hoses will accomplish that. And right now I'm not going to connect these hoses. I just put them in place so that I can see the routing. But when I'm ready to connect the hoses, I will just I'll have to empty the radiator enough so I don't make a mess, and then I have to change this fitting to a 90-degree angle fitting so that the hose can go straight to the intake manifold, and then of course the other one will go to the water pump. So that's the look that I wanted as far as getting the engine bay without any clutter, get it all cleaned up. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching.